people read your content as if it was spoken to them. So if you're writing stuff out, it never translates as well as when you speak it out. So big top tip would be to speak out your thoughts and your feelings, and then use that as opposed to try and
So first and foremost, I warmly welcome you onto the Women's Stories, onto the season 2 of the Women's Stories. And today we'll be primarily discussing about LinkedIn marketing and B2B SaaS marketing. And we hope that our audience would be able to take a lot of insightful and juicy content that would surely help them in future. Firstly, I would like you to break 3 major myths around LinkedIn marketing.
Okay, so 3 major myths around LinkedIn marketing. I think if we bring it back a little bit to personal branding generally, I think one of the biggest myths about building out your personal brand on LinkedIn is that it's an ego-driven activity. People think that by putting content out there, it's some way kind of them showing off or them bragging or like, you know, being arrogant or whatever. But actually, it's the total opposite. You have so much value that you can add to the world, and value that you're adding one-on-one already to conversations that you have and customers that you speak to, and the interactions that you have every single day. So all you're simply doing with kind of marketing yourself or personal branding yourself on LinkedIn is sharing that information, but at scale. You're building those relationships out with scale. So number one myth busting is it's not an ego-driven activity. Absolutely. The second thing is that I think people think LinkedIn is a professional, quote unquote, professional networking site, and therefore it's only for recruiters, or if you're trying to find a job, it's like basically like a giant CV. And actually the reality is it's a social media networking platform, right? People are there to build relationships, to form alliances, to make sales, to buy things, to sell. Like it's this incredible mix of people who are interested in having very interesting discussions with one another without the kind of rubbish that happens on other platforms of kind of crap going out and that kind of stuff. So LinkedIn is definitely a social media network. And I love to look at it as if you were going to like a conference. So imagine if you were going to a conference and you got to network with all your ideal customers, all your ideal audience, all the people that you want to form relationships with. That's what LinkedIn is. And that's why I also kind of bring it back to my point about personal branding. It's why people are able to build such amazing personal brands on LinkedIn, because nobody does this. No one sees LinkedIn as this incredible social network. They see it as a professional networking site. So people are really missing the trick when it comes to pushing themselves out online and forming those relationships with people and doing it at scale, which I don't think you can do on many other platforms. And finally, I think that people, probably a myth with LinkedIn is people think that you have to be quote unquote professional, like everything has to be very corporate and very unpersonal. The reality is actually the opposite. People want to engage with people. They want to have conversations with people. They want to see your human side. They want to really know what your thoughts and feelings are, not what you think you should be saying. So those would be my kind of 3 myths about personal branding on LinkedIn, which is the actual truth is the total opposite.
Yeah, that was an absolute punch to all the myths, and I truly enjoyed it. And I think I would also like to add that I think LinkedIn is one of the platforms where people are concerned about adding value. They are just not they are not enlightening, or they are not putting all the light on themselves. Everyone is concerned, how can I put value onto someone else's life? And I think that's beautiful.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Moving further, so continuing to the above question, 3 mistakes that no one should commit on LinkedIn.
3 mistakes that no one should commit on LinkedIn. Number 1, not being yourself, right? I think people really, when it comes, it's not just LinkedIn, it's on social media generally. When someone comes down, they sit with their phone and they go, right, I'm going to write something out today. I'm going to write a tweet. I'm going to write a post. Something happens internally where what you would normally say to someone, when you type it, completely changes. Like it becomes really vanilla. It becomes really corporate. We all speak as if we were like the queen all of a sudden because we're writing it. And actually the reality is the more personal you can be, the more human you can be. And actually a top tip for everyone would be like record what you want to post into your phone, dictate it. So speak into your phone, it will write how you speak, because people read your content as if it was spoken to them. So if you're writing stuff out, it never translates as well as when you speak it out. So big top tip would be to speak out your thoughts and your feelings, and then use that as opposed to try and write it out yourself, because the reality is it's never going to come out very well. Another thing would be try lots of different types of content. People kind of tend to just stick to text posts, which is great, but like try video, try graphics, try polls, try just try and be as diverse as humanly possible to figure out what works best for you. And then the final thing that I would say is be consistent. Like people really, really undervalue the consistency of doing anything in life, right? It's not just building a personal brand on LinkedIn. People go, oh, I really want to do this thing. I really want to get a sexy body. I really want to get ripped abs and whatever. And like, oh, how's the quickest way I can get that? Right. I'm going to go and do that 7-minute abs every day for a week. I'm going to be so fit and so sexy. The reality is you're not going to get fit and sexy in 7 days. You're going to have to go and put in the hard work day in, day out for probably months, and then for the rest of your life, because you want to keep that hot, sexy body. And it's exactly the same with anything else, including social media, including LinkedIn. If you want to build a strong personal brand, if you want to have 70,000 followers and 100% inbound business and generating all this money from it, you have to show up every single day. Rome wasn't built a day. You won't get followers overnight, but I promise you, the more you do it, the more that compounds. It's like compounding interest, right? You put money into an account, after a year, that you only get like a couple of quid back. But if you do that every single year, the end result is you'll have millions and millions of dollars at the end of it.
Yeah, I think the third point, consistency, was thought provoking, because everyone have a different take on consistency. I've also heard people saying, consistency doesn't mean posting every day, but on the, of course, it's amalgamated in words, but on the other side, the actual results only come when you post daily, and when you also keep the quality and plus consistency. And I think that's a huge and a lot of work. So
people, I hate this idea. People say, oh, is it quality or quantity? And I say both. Why does it have to be one or the other? You have to have quality content, but you also have to share a lot of it in order to get any results, right? So the easiest way of getting around that, for me anyway, is when I go and engage with other people's stuff, which I recommend everyone does as much as humanly possible, is I will write a comment, and if I get a couple of likes on that comment, or some people like it, or they reply to it, I then turn that comment into a post. So what you're doing then is you're creating this amazing kind of self-perpetuating flywheel of like, you're never having to actually create anything, because it's just comments that you're leaving on other people's stuff, and then you turn those. So my post today was a comment I left on someone's post like 3 days ago.
Okay. Oh yeah. I think that's the power of repurposing, and of course, people like you kind of spark that light, because we kind of ignore, or we just don't know. And when an expert say us these words, we kind of, oh, we could also do that, and that just a spark in itself. So my next question is, here is a scenario. This would be a scenario-based question. So how should a serious B2B SaaS-based company, maybe in edutech or fintech industry, for millennials approach marketing strategy when brands are expected to behave as a human?
God, that's a very big question. How should they approach their marketing strategy? Well, first of all, it really depends on who their audience is, right? Like you said, millennials, but like, are they like where, like what industry are they in? I think broadly speaking, before anyone attacks any kind of marketing strategy of any kind, whether it's a personal brand or a company brand, you have to first of all understand what you want to be known for. Like, what are you going for? Are you going to be the disruptor in the space, or are you the like slow and steady business that can always be relied on? Like, do you want to be known as the leader, or do you want to be known as the underdog? Like, what do you want to be known for as a business? Because that has to form the foundation of every single thing that you do, right? And then kind of the added layer to that is, where is your audience? Where are they currently? Because I can preach all day long about LinkedIn and how great it is, but the reality is not everyone's audience is on LinkedIn. If you're in fintech, you might find that your audience is on Twitter. If you're in edtech, you might find the audience is actually on Instagram or on TikTok. So you need to understand where your audience is and go to that platform. Don't try. It's like, I always say to people, it's like having planning a really amazing party at your house at the same day as like the most popular person in town is having their party at their house. Like, it's much easier to go to the party that's already happening at the really popular person's house than it is to try and get people to come to your party on the same day. So go and figure out where your audience is as well. Like, it's super, super, super important. And then in terms of like targeting millennials, again, like millennials aren't just like, the same with Gen Z, same with boomers, whatever. You can't just go, right, that's how you market to millennials, because like, human beings are very different. We're very unpredictable. We're very unique. You've got to understand, like, on a very unscalable level, like, why do people buy from you? Why would they want to buy from you? Are they aware of your brand? Are they aware of their problem? Are they aware of the products available to them, or the solutions available to them? Or are they completely unaware totally? So do you need to educate them? So understanding which bucket you want to allocate. By the way, you have to cover all 4 of those buckets. You can't just like attack the people that know about your brand. You have to attack people that don't know, don't even know they have a problem, don't even know that solutions exist. You have to market to every single person in the life cycle of that customer journey. So it doesn't matter whether they're a millennial, whether they are Gen Z, or whether they're 100 years old, you've still got to market to them in that way in the platforms that they're already on. So go where people are, be clear on what you want to be known for, be very, very clear on how you can communicate why people should buy from you. So benefits, not features, like painkillers, not, the benefits of sell the benefits of the painkiller, i.e. your product, rather than what the ingredients are in that painkiller. And just be really, really clear on where your audience is and go there.
Yeah, that was an extremely insightful answer. And what I can take is, of course, you have to create content, but you cannot, of course, target a particular, like, your people are on this platform, maybe on TikTok or Instagram, but you have to just create the content for what you want to be known, and the audience would be automatically attracted towards it. So I hope that
I think you need to be very clear about who your audience is. I think like just saying like millennials, that's not an audience, that's a generation, right? So who are they? Like it's not about, I'm not a big fan of customer personas, right? Because personally, your customer is so much more than a persona. They're not like the average customer that you have might be similar to this marketing persona that you have in your head, but the reality is the majority of them aren't. They will have different reasons for not using you, different reasons for using you, different reasons for not. So going and doing those unscalable things, like go and speaking to customers that have been with you for a while, go and speak to customers who didn't want to work with you, go and speak to customers who've just joined you, go and have those very intimate, literally one-on-one conversations will really give you a lot of insight into how you should be marketing to people better.
Yeah, got it. Okay. So could you please drop out 3 unique ways to use a LinkedIn page for the same B2B SaaS company?
Okay, so LinkedIn page, do you mean company page or personal page?
Company page.
Company page. Okay, first and foremost, like people need to treat their company page like they would their personal brand. It has to have personality, it has to be consistent, like valuable content, and there have to be a reason for people to come to your platform, right? It has to be you have to be giving them something to want to be there. So I always say to people, like, there's 4 different types of content that you should be sharing, depending on whether it's appropriate. Some of them aren't appropriate for some companies, some are, but there are 4 different types. One, enraging content. So enraging content is things that make people triggered, provoked, not necessarily controversial. You could be really like advocating for women's rights, but that's enraging to people because as a woman, I feel like, yeah, I really want to get behind that. So that would be enraging. The next one would be informing. So you're giving them value, you're giving them you're educating them on something, like here are the top 5 tips to do this, here are the top 5 tips to do that. You know, ever wanted to do this before? Here's how you can do it for free. Like that kind of everything that you know as a business, you give away your information for free. That's informing. The next one is inspiring. So what inspiring stories can you tell? Has someone just been promoted in your business? Was there a customer that overcame a really big challenge because of your product? Like tell those inspirational stories. And then the final one is amuse. So how can you use humor to get your message across and attract people to want to follow you and form that relationship with you? You have to make sure that your company page really reflects a personality, a tone of voice that's very specific to who you are. Like our tone of voice at Klowt is very sassy, very cheeky. Like we don't mind taking the mick out of people. Like we're very personal because we're a personal branding agency, but that's not us as a team member. That's our brand. Our company brand has that personality. I think it's really, really important that you get that right first. The second thing is don't sleep on it. Like don't sleep on your company brand. People want to follow it, right? You have to just give them a reason to. I think people really grossly underestimate the power of company brands and company pages on LinkedIn. I have a friend that's grown his company page, the Marketing Millennials, from 0 to over 100,000 followers in like 5 months. And like he goes viral on every single company page post he does. So you just have to find who your people are and give them what they want. And then the third thing is make sure that you're trying to push people off LinkedIn and off that company page to your website, because you don't own the followers on your company page, but you do own customers that come and fill in a form. So give them a reason to come to your website, to give you their details. Like gated white papers aren't enough anymore. You have to give them like a really, really good reason to give you their information. So it might be that you send out an email once a week that's free, like free valuable information. It might be, you know, that you're going to give them a free demo of your product, or like whatever it is. It has to be enough. It has to be good enough that they pay for it in order for them to give you their details. So those are my 3 things. And then 4th thing, bonus tip, is please make sure that your team are building their personal brands, because ultimately people are not going to find out about your business on LinkedIn unless your team are posting content, because LinkedIn ranks members content above company updates and sponsored ads. So they will always, 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 when you scroll through your feed, you will always see people's content, not company content. So getting your team to share content that either you've created or that you've empowered them to create themselves is a really, really important part of getting people to your page and then off to a goal conversion on your website. Your personal brands, the personal brands within your company, your employees' personal brands, is the top of the funnel. So you have to make sure that that's really good.
Yeah, I was just about to ask the question with regards to the bonus tip, and you answered all the queries. Because I've seen a lot of CEOs, especially, they are not active on LinkedIn because, of course, they are so busy in their life as a CEO, and they don't build a personal brand, and then they hire a marketer to build a brand on LinkedIn, especially on LinkedIn page, and then it's kind of almost impossible to attract people on that page, because people don't know who is the person behind that particular page. Yeah.
Exactly.
So is there any essential toolkit to manage a LinkedIn page? What should an voice should know about handling a LinkedIn page?
Yeah, so LinkedIn makes it really difficult to get very decent analytics, which is annoying. So on a personal brand, so a personal page, I use Shield, which is an analytics platform, which is fantastic. Like the analytics that you get are brilliant. I highly recommend anyone. Shieldapp.ai it's called. So if you're serious about personal branding, go and sign up for that. For LinkedIn, like literally all of our toolkit is behind the scenes. So it's like in Canva, in Adobe, in content drips, in what else do we use? I can't even remember off the top of my head. There are so many different platforms out there that make creating content so easy. Veemly is another one where you can go and create video content, basically. Filmora Go is another one. Go and reuse your TikToks on your LinkedIn platform, go and use your Instagram posts on your LinkedIn platform, go and screenshot your tweets and put them on LinkedIn, like repurpose as much content as you possibly can. There's no point in doubling up on stuff, and also a really good tip for anyone listening to this, the reason why companies like mine reuse and repurpose is not just because we want to save time. That's a very big bonus. But if we're resharing our TikToks on LinkedIn, it's because we want people to go and follow us on LinkedIn follow us on TikTok from LinkedIn. If we share screenshots of my tweets on my company page, it's because I want people to go and follow me on Twitter. So cross-pollinating your content across different platforms is really, really a great way to grow your followings on other platforms too.
Yeah, and that's so much of information. I'm trying to keep my head as much open as I can, because I'm really, kind of absorbing all the knowledge that you're sharing. Thanks for that. And my next question is, it feels like good to be viral, but it of course takes years of efforts to make that one post viral. So what is your journey of creating that one post viral, and what was the back end work that you put? Maybe it could be experience, job experience, or anything. I would love to know your story.
I think the thing is, everyone wants to go viral. But the reality is, viral doesn't pay your bills. Viral doesn't pay for your team. Viral doesn't, yes, it's great. It gives you a massive dopamine hit and you're like, oh, these people like my content. Great. But like the reality is, it's not paying you. Okay. It gives you reach, which is great because that's top of funnel. It gives you eyeballs on your page and your brand, but it doesn't actually pay your bills. So if anyone's going into this wanting to go viral, you're not going to go viral. Like that, that's just how it goes, right? The nature of viral content is that it's viral, it's uncontrollable, unpredictable. You have no idea whether or not it's going to happen, but you can absolutely increase your chances of going viral by just posting a lot and not being vanilla and sharing your true feelings about stuff and not being afraid to stand behind strong opinions. So I've had, a couple of million views on one post. I've had one post that had 2 million views. Like that's a lot of eyeballs on my content, but I didn't go into those posts thinking, oh, this is going to go viral. I wrote it because I felt really strongly about that thing and I just shared it. And of course it took off because other people agreed or disagreed. So I don't think you can go viral by trying to go viral. You can just be consistent and be open and be honest and be true to who you are, and eventually something will click.
Yeah, that was a deep answer, because sometimes, of course, content creators are so busy, especially if they are working for clients, they are in search of that one viral piece. Like, what could we make that just go viral? And that's where most of the marketers get stuck. Even I've got stuck in that phase. So yeah, thanks a lot for that.
I think the thing is, like, one of the the common denominator I have with every single viral post we've written and created for clients, as well as mine and my team's content, the common denominator is every single one of those posts was not thought out. It was just like, boom, here's my opinion, boom. Like there was no filter, no nothing. And none of us thought those particular posts would go viral. We were just sharing what our client wanted us to share or what we thought was appropriate. And so often when you try and go viral, you don't. But when you're not even thinking about it is when you do.
Yeah, that's I think that's also on the other side. It's a lot of manifestation and a lot of forces that we don't know exist in the universe. Yeah. So moving ahead, how do you ensure hiring the best of best for Klowt and keeping them pumped up for the work?
How do I ensure hiring the best of the best? So we're a very small team, we're really lean. But I think one of the kind of benefits of building out my personal brand, but also my team's individual personal brands, is that we attract really great applications. So number one, the best part about having a strong personal brand on LinkedIn is the applications we get are really, really good to start with. So that's great. Because people want to work for us. They see our content, they send us applications even when we're not hiring. So that's really, really good. And then the second thing is we make sure our hiring process is really, really beneficial to both sides of the party. It's not just beneficial for us, it's beneficial for the candidate too. So the first stage that we do is a telephone interview. It's very casual. And then the next stage we do, which is a face-to-face, is the first 30 minutes of that call, they will present a task that we've given them to do. So if you're a graphic designer, we might ask you to create a flipbook for us. If you're a copywriter, we might ask you to write a couple of posts for us based on a brief. So the first 30 minutes of that conversation, we go through your task. The second 30 minutes of that face-to-face interview, we want you to interview us as your next employer, because then that kind of flips the role around of like, normally it's us asking you questions. Now it's your turn to ask us questions. And why that's important is, number one, you get to know everything about the business that you want to ask. But number two, we get to learn about you. How curious are you? How creative are you? Do you ask the same questions everyone asks? Or do you ask the more unique things that are actually a little bit more challenging, and you're going to make us better? You're going to innovate a little bit more. So we like people to ask questions because it gives us an insight into who they are, and then it helps us hire the best people. In terms of like how I keep them pumped up is, I don't know, we just have like we have a very high energy, positive, very challenging environment. So like every single one of us, if something goes wrong, we'll call everyone out on it. And that goes for me too. My team will say, hey, you messed that up. Why did you mess that up? And we have this really lovely kind of, definitely empathetic, like we care deeply about each other, but we're absolutely not afraid to challenge each other on stuff when we mess up or we don't do our best work. And I think that's a really good environment to build.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that especially the second part, the 30-minute call where you say people to present their expertise. That's an intriguing part, because most of the people, maybe most of the recruiters, miss that step, and that's so important. Now, like, I can feel why, why then they face problem of not having good bunch of people in the team. So moving ahead, could you please recall that moment of building the entire business plan for Klowt from your bedroom? What was the feeling like, and when you were all ready to make it public?
So I didn't have a business plan. I literally, like, I quit my job on the Friday. I set the business up in the middle of the pandemic, right? So this is literally in the middle of the global pandemic. I had a safe job, a great paycheck, but I decided to quit because I knew within me that I just didn't want to work for, I was unemployable. I didn't want to work for anyone else anymore. So I quit my job on the Friday. I set Klowt up the next week, and we had our first client. I say we, it was just me back then. I had my first client that Tuesday, had my second client that Thursday, and I had 2 clients on retainers like the week after. So I literally had no backup plan, no safety net, no real plan on what I wanted to do. All I wanted to do was just pay my bills. That's it. I just wanted to pay my bills doing something I loved. And so the growth of Klowt has happened super organically, because I never went into this thinking I was going to be like world dominating and like try and like build this business. But we've ended up, we're 1 year later, and we're a team of 6 now in 1 year from launching. So we've done pretty well. So yeah, I think a lot of, like, look, I'm not going to say don't do a business plan, because like, it's probably not a great thing to like launch a business plan. However, I do think people spend a lot of time planning that they don't actually take any action. So don't plan stuff so much that it stops you from actually doing the thing that you want to do, because ultimately we can all make business plans, doesn't mean it's going to build a business.
Yeah, that's so powerful. That's so powerful. So just say that. So how were your initial months of managing Klowt independently? What were some major obstacles when you were managing it independently?
When we first launched, the hardest thing was like that actually most businesses struggle to find clients, right? That's normally the hardest thing. I had the exact opposite problem. I had too many clients, because as soon as I said to the world that we were going to be launching this personal branding agency, there were so many people already in my network that wanted to work with me. So we had a wait list by month 2. So that was never a problem. But what was a problem was, like, for me, letting go and delegating and hiring people, and being okay with someone else looking after clients, even though my name was above the door, and like just general things. Anyone's an entrepreneur can relate. It's really hard to let go because your business is your baby. But ultimately, like, for you to grow any kind of success on any level, you have to let go. So the biggest challenge for me was like hiring people and like giving work to them and like just trusting that they would do it. And I still struggle with that a little bit, but that's more because I'm a bit crazy than because they're not great at their job, because my team are amazing.
Yeah, I can feel that. And lastly, what message would you like to give to young potential entrepreneurs through this platform who are stuck in a phase?
Young entrepreneurs, number 1 is don't be afraid to fail. My first business, when I was 21 years old, went bankrupt after the first 18 months. And I learned more in the 18 months of failing at that business than my entire 10 years of my career. So don't be afraid of failure. I think there's some like crazy statistic that says that every single billionaire, millionaire, like, worldwide, who's self-made, 99% of them have all had at least one failed business in their background. So don't be afraid of failure. I don't believe failure is part or opposite of success. It's part of it. It's just one thing you have to push through. And let's be honest, we all have multiple failures every day. Every day something happens. So exposing yourself to that and being okay with things going wrong, like, you fix them, you make sure they're good, but just being okay that things are going to go wrong, I think is really important. The second thing would be, remember that done is better than perfect, right? Like, going back to my business plan, right? Getting the business launched out and customers in the door was way more important than making a perfect business plan. So getting something done is always better than making it perfect, because perfect doesn't exist and perfect can't pay your bills. And then the final thing would be just do it. Like, what are you waiting for? The world is not going to wait for you. It's going to keep spinning. So if you don't do it now, if you don't start your business now, if you don't launch that side hustle now, then when? Because you can wait your whole life telling people what you want to do, doesn't mean you're actually going to do it. So 100% just dive in and figure it out as you're flying down the hill.
So I hope that I'm audible and visible clearly.
Yeah, I can hear you. Sorry, did you ask me a question? I didn't. I didn't hear a question.
No, not yet.
Okay,
So yeah,
brilliant.
Yeah.